Hello, I'm Tara and welcome to another Crafting with Curly Q's video. Today I'm going to do a clean and simple card featuring the Lawn Fawn set Let's BBQ. I am absolutely in love with this set. I had to have it the second that I saw it. I think it is so stinking cute. I'm going to use the ketchup bottle and the little ketchup sentiment. I do have the matching dies, but I'm not going to be using them for this project today. So what I'm going to do first is take my card base. I am using 120 pound white Simon Says stamp cardstock, and I'm doing that because I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring directly on the front of the card, and I don't want it to show through on the back, so I'm using this extra heavy cardstock here. So I went ahead and taped that card base. I did a top folding A2 card that is going to be opening horizontally, and I just took some post-it tape and I used my grid mat to go ahead and just mark a line on there. I'm taking my Lawn Fawn black licorice ink and this cute little ketchup or mustard bottle here. I'm stamping it off a couple times because it's a brand new stamp and I want to make sure it's nice and crispy. And then I'm basically just going to take this stamp and stamp it all across the front of the card, and I'm using that post-it tape that I put down kind of as a guide. It turns out that my stamping was not as super straight as I was thinking that it would be, but in the end it kind of looked neat. It looked like some of the bottles were a little bit behind the other bottles, but that wasn't my intent, but it worked out well. So I just went ahead and stamped those all across the front there. And then I'm going to go ahead and peel up that post-it tape. And my next step is going to be to color in one of these bottles with some Copic markers. So I'm just using 3 different shades of red, and I'm going to start with my lightest tone here. It's this R22, and I'm going to color in the whole ketchup bottle, and that's just going to saturate the paper and make the blending really easy. This card, like I said, is just really clean and simple. This is the only coloring that I'm going to do just to highlight this one bottle and give it a nice pop of red here. And then my mid-tone color that I'm using is the R29. And just to make this bottle look rounded, I'm going to kind of come in at the sides with some shading. That top, I just kind of put shading wherever. It's so tiny you can't even really tell. So you can see I'm just kind of scribbling some color in from the sides there, and then I'm going to take this R89, which is my darkest shade, and put just the slightest bit of red all the way at the edges of that curved bottle, and that's just going to give some really deep shadows right there at the end without making the color too dark, because I do want it to kind of be that nice ketchupy red there. So now I come back in with my mid-tone and just blend out that dark shade that I had put at the end, and then I'm going to come back in with that lightest tone that I had and attempt to blend everything in. And what's going to happen is that I'm going to realize real quick that there's too big of a gap between the R22 and the R29, and it's not going to blend very well. So what I'm going to do is just take the tip of that lighter marker, touch it to the tip of the darker marker, and then bring it over to my piece here. And that's going to create kind of a tone in between that R22 and that R29 and help those blend together really nicely. So once that's all done, you can see how the middle of the bottle is kind of highlighted, gives it that rounded shape. So nice, easy coloring, just a quick way to do some shading. And then the only other color I'm going to do is give some shadow underneath all these bottles so that they're not just floating out in space. And this is where, once I got that shadow added, I thought it looked kind of neat that they're all kind of a little bit staggered. So I'm just using my C1, C3, and then my colorless blender. So not very dark shadowing at all, and I'm just putting the C3 right underneath the very base of those bottles. And then I'll just go back with the C1 and blend that out a little bit. And finally at the very end, I just take my colorless blender and I just kind of scribble all over the edges. I love the colorless blender. It basically makes everything that you're doing look phenomenal and takes away any blunders that you may have. I don't know if you noticed, I completely knocked my entire work surface over like 1.5 inches there. Sometimes I'm very clumsy when I craft. I don't know about you guys, but I tend to mess up my own stuff a lot more than I ought to. So now that that shadow's all blended out, I'm going to go ahead and get all my Copics put away, and I'm going to start working on the sentiment here. Oh, nope, first I'm going to add a little winky face because you can't really have a ketchup bottle without a winky face. I think that's just common knowledge. So now that he's on there, we can safely move on. I'm going to take my long Lawn Fawn block because the sentiment is a little bit longer, and I'm going to use this We Should Ketchup. So punny. Love Lawn Fawn. They have these great sentiments that go with the pictures. It's so perfect. So I'm taking that same Lawn Fawn black licorice ink, so crispy. I love this ink. It just makes lines like perfect. And I'm just going to ink up the We Should. And right before I stamped this here, I realized that this is a brand new stamp too, so I went ahead and stamped that off a couple times just to make sure it was going to give me a clear image. So now I'm feeling comfortable with that. I'm going to stamp it on there, and then I'm going to clean it off really nicely with a baby wipe. And then I'm going to go back in and stamp the red part. I started with some Memento Ladybug ink here, and when I inked that up and then I stamped this ketchup, you can't really tell in the video, but this red was a lot pinker than I was wanting. That bottle turned out a little bit deeper, and I didn't really like the way that that Ladybug ink was mixing with the Copic coloring that I'd done. So I went ahead and cleaned my stamp off and dug through my ink pile here, and I came up with my Lawn Fawn cranberry ink. And I'm going to go ahead and test that out. And you saw earlier I did Copic color with the Lawn Fawn black licorice ink, and I find that it works just as well as the Memento Tuxedo Black. I know Memento is a great ink for Copic coloring, but I've had really good luck with my Lawn Fawn black licorice as well. So I just inked up the ketchup portion and I stamped right on top. So now I have this great two-tone sentiment here. I'm going to fold my card base and use my bone folder to kind of crease that because this cardstock is so thick. So you can see there on the inside there's no coloring showing through. And now I'm going to take my corner rounder and I'm just going to round the bottom two corners of the card here. And now I'm going to start doing the fun part, which is all the extras when you're all done and you get to spruce it up and make it fancy. So here's my Wink Costello. We're going to color that one little colorful guy and add some glitter to him there. And then I'm going to take my Uniball Signo pen in white, warm it up, and I'm just going to go over a little bit of the places where I got a little bit out of the lines. Or then for some reason I've been smudging my cards lately, so I don't know where I got some black ink on my finger at one point or something, and it ended up on the front of that card. So I'm just going to make that go bye-bye there with that white pen because I don't want to redo my entire card here. That is a little tag like you would get off of your clothes when you buy some new clothes, and I just shove it down inside my glossy accents, and that way my glossy accents doesn't clog, and it's a really great way to store that. So I just covered this whole little ketchup bottle with glossy accents so he's got some extra sparkle and shine. And then to finish the card, what I did after that is add a little doodlebug heart to the side enamel accent. So you can see how shiny that is, so pretty, nice, clean and simple one-layer card. I think it turned out really great with that pop of red on there. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. If you liked what you saw, please hit subscribe, give me the thumbs up, and I will continue to make all kinds of good videos for you. Please go ahead and join me. I'm on Facebook. I've got the blog at blogspot.com, and I'm on Pinterest. So I'll see you guys later.